Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
This should do it. The horn sounds, and the Stanley Cup playoffs are coming to UBS Arena for the first time ever. The New York Islanders are headed back to the postseason with a 4-2 win tonight here at home over the Canadiens.
104-103 Pelicans. Gilgeous-Alexander on the left wing, guarded by Murphy. Top to Giddey. Giddey to Jalen Williams, left wide open for three. Jalen Williams gets nothing but net. The big fella hits his first three-pointer of the game.
Vucevic, baseline drive, pass to the wing, Beverly, touch pass to the corner, Caruso. He knocks home a triple. We are tied at 91 with 6:23 to go.
The pitch. He swings and strokes it to deep left field. This might go. It's a goner. An opposite field home run. Gorman drives in two, and the Cardinals lead 6-4.
2-0 pitch. Swung on and big contact to right field. Lamont Wade Jr. back to the track, to the wall. It's gone. Maxwell swinging the silver hammer again. It's his second multi-home run game of the series. A 3-run shot, and the Dodgers lead it 8-3.
Hey, good morning. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, we are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. How about Shane kicking off the show with an Islanders cup?
He's an idiot. I mean, they were like, I don't know, minus 330 last night against.
Oh, you weren't feeling confident that the Habs would pull it
Canadians?
off?
I was like, gosh, what are the odds that there's going to be an upset? Nah.
There were a couple in the NBA.
No, you know I will.
Anytime the Canadians can lose, I'm all about it.
Yeah, well, they did that last night.
Shane, aren't you an Avalanche fan?
Yeah.
How about the Blues losing to the Stars, and now the Stars in first place? You're welcome. I was talking about that with our
I still
Huskers X's and O's yesterday.
My man Adam.
I think hate the Blues even more.
I think you guys should go back and redo your was it 6-pack? Because I'm the only one that took the field against the Big Four.
You did. That's correct.
And you guys are still cool with that?
Yeah, I'm still confident in my Big Five prediction.
Well, it's not really 5.
Yeah, but 4.5. One team's still going to be there.
Yeah, and neither one of ours is.
Right.
Yeah, it was the end of a run. It was a good run, man.
What's that? 16 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of postseason berths for the Pens, but can't lose to the Blackhawks.
Blackhawks are they're doing their franchise a disservice too.
Leave it to Verzal to be a thorn in my side.
We want to get as close to Connor Bedard as we can, but I also want to ruin playoff hopes. So how can I do both?
What did Lovie Smith once utter? What do you want me to do? Try and lose?
Yep. We don't need the first pick.
Nah, we're good.
Fortunately for the Hawks, there is a lottery, but the percentage points go down.
I'm still mad. Thankfully, the Dodgers hammered at the El Gigantes.
And Max Muncy looks
he's
as good as ever.
He's streaking. I told you, coming in a couple nights ago, he came in hitting $1.25. Yep. I mean, nowhere to go.
Carried that over from last season.
Nowhere to go but moving on up. And I got to have some speaks. She'll be at my she'll probably be covering the event. I don't think she'll be, because I'm at a table with some people from Channel 7. You're going to have some speaks with old Ellie French. Okay, I've done her a few solids.
Need a little one-on-one time.
Yeah, bro. The repeated "I hate the Dodgers" tweet. Like, what are we doing? It's not necessary. That's overkill, Ellie. It's on and cracking tonight. I tell you. I don't even. You ever kind of been excited about something, but then kind of dread it at the same time?
Sure. Plenty of times. Plenty of times.
Yeah, big event tonight at the Jet Awards.
Yeah. So tell me.
No.
Okay, we'll move on.
What I need an electrician first. Can you get me an electrician? Are you an electrician?
Are you serious? I was going to ask you about an electrician.
Were you really?
I had an electrician stop by the house yesterday because I need an exhaust fan in my bathroom.
A pardon?
An exhaust fan, an electrician.
That's the thing you turn on when you want to go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Or when you take a shower.
An exhaust fan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I don't have one in the master bathroom. It just didn't have one in there. So I had to call somebody just to get an estimate. Guy comes over. I can't believe we're talking about an electrician right now. Guy comes over and...
Wait, did you call him or he just...
So I filled out...
He was like, oh boy, I'll Poltergeist 2 just strolling through the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's like, I can tell this master bath doesn't have an...
They're going to die in there.
No, so I filled out a form, what I thought was on a company website. Turns out to be one of those forms that get sent out to everybody. So now I'm getting phone calls.
Didn't I tell you about this with your fiance and her filling out what she needed and getting flooded with calls? I told you about that.
Yep. But I was on a company website, but I just didn't read the fine print below that's like, we'll also send your information to this place, and this place. I'm like, awesome. Anyway, this guy comes over, gives me an estimate, and I want you to tell me if it's outrageous.
Bro, do you know who you're talking to?
I do. But like, I want you to
I have some friends I can ask.
Right, and maybe that's what I'm trying to do through you right now. Like, even our listeners, if you're an electrician out there, help me out. Help a man
hopefully
out.
mine's a lot easier.
$911.
Yeah, that sounds like extortion.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. But at the same time, I'm like, well,
exactly.
How much are you charging for your hours of work? Like, I need like an itemized list.
You're entertaining that? Oh man, I'd sit there with a blow dryer and be like,
I'm entertaining because I want to learn.
I'd be like one of those people with like a flamingo peacock fan. I'd do it
Micah, get in the bathroom.
$900.
So the reason I'm entertaining it is because I want to know. Like, I want to educate myself on, hey, this is outrageous.
Okay.
Don't ever do it. But if that's like the cost.
What are the odds that this was going to come up?
No clue. Zero clue. Why do you need an electrician?
I hope mine's easier. So I have that timer for that heated lamp. Remember, it's like my go-to, right? It's the only light I use because there's a whatever the thing is that's like the window in your ceiling and natural light comes through.
It's a skylight.
Thank you. That look, man.
I'm with you.
Brother's just trying to get acclimated, okay?
You're like, what is that, a sunroof?
Yeah.
Can I retract that?
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, funny, man. It is cool when it rains, if that ever happens again.
I don't think it will.
I just stand in the bathroom and I look at the raindrops hitting the glass. No, anyway, I actually do kind of squirrel.
Doesn't shock me.
So I thought the light bulb went out, but it didn't. I, got a new bulb and put it in, but it only stays on for like 2 minutes and it cuts out. So it's obviously like a fuse,
right,
or something like that, because it
Yours
has a
will
little.
Be a much easier fix.
Man, from your lips to God's ears, because I'm not doing anything for. Well, I'd do a lot for $900. I wouldn't get.
Well, my guy said he's got to run wire from the attic through something, and I'm like,
yeah, I just want to like a simple, just swing by, man. 15 minutes. No, I'm gonna find somebody. Hopefully. That's one thing. I don't have a guy. I have a guy, but I don't know if I have an electrician, because I think it is such a finite skill.
I was told that an exhaust fan costs like a couple $100 to put in, and then when I heard 9, I'm like, $900.
Yeah, that seems like a lot. But again, I told you 10 trillion times, we're in the wrong business. We need to have gone back to do a trade, like HVAC, an electrician, something like that.
Those jobs will always be there,
man. And those guys and gals, they stay paid. And wouldn't you like to be able to do something that only a few people can do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's
nobody can do that.
Hey, nobody can talk.
Like my barber will always be in business because he's spectacular and people will always need their haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to be able to provide a service that people will always need. Yeah, and it's screwing up my timing. I mean, that's number one, because I set that thing and I can do 15 minutes from the time I close the door.
Okay.
Right? It's 11 in the shower, depending on if I brush in the shower or not. Sometimes I'll do it out, and like 3 to get dressed. Then I clean up, make sure nobody knows that I was in the bathroom, and I'm out.
You got 60 seconds to get it done.
Roughly. right? Like it's screwing up my. I feel like I've been in there longer because I know when the light cuts off, time to get your butt moving, right?
Yep.
I'm
running
wonky.
It's not helping.
I'm running about 4 minutes over.
You're normally on time too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I had to throw the towels in this morning, so that threw me off. I had to be out of the house, man. It's 6:27.
Pretty exact. Why?
8. Just how it works, so now I make a game out of it. I mean, why else?
I make a game. I compete with myself.
I don't have a good reason. It's kind of a stupid time.
At 6:27. Well, I'll tell you what. When the clock
do you know? Okay, be honest. Full disclosure, I'll tell you. Okay, so like it started to kind of be a thing. Like it happened like 7 or 8 days in a row. It said 6:28. Then it turned into, well, I see the same 2 cars along 108th every time. Like, do they leave at the same time? So I would just see if I could catch them. And I quit trying after like about 3 weeks.
You spent 3 weeks trying to match up?
Yeah, just to see, like, because I think I don't know.
It would have taken me.
What else are we gonna do? What else are you doing at 6:30 in the morning when you're not at work yet?
Oddly enough, I'm just driving to work. I know that sounds crazy.
At my old job, I used to see the same 7 or 8 cars on the way to work every time, and it just has not happened for me yet.
Huh?
And I drive the same way to work.
Well,
and by the way, real quick, I went your way down Harrison to go through the neighborhood. I've gone a different way 3 times. I quit. I don't know if it's faster or not. I veer left by the park. We're talking. Anyway. We're just rambling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Harrison, heading east. I don't veer. I don't take that left in front of the park by the Crunchy Cream Chicken gas station.
Yep.
I go to 108th and Harrison and hang a left because the 3 times that I've tried it. Because who said it was shorter? You or Bill?
Bill.
I don't remember which way I went the day before.
Well, there's usually that one light that you don't want to hit and sit at. So if you leave at a certain time, 6:27,
that's 124th and Harrison.
Yeah, there's a light though right at the storage unit across from the dealership. That light right in the middle between Casey's and Giles Light. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't go that way.
Okay, well,
why do you go so far south?
I don't. But I'm saying when I drive home sometimes, like I would go straight past Sports Clips, Jimmy John's right here, the Sonic, take that back road by the new soccer fields all the way up to that light. That light will not turn green to go left. It just won't. I sat there for 7 minutes one time and let the light turn red on the main road, and then it turned green for them before I got to go. I was so mad. Never going that way again.
Hey, my man Asian Wyatt said use homewise.com. It's a great estimator for construction stuff. I use it for work a lot. And I'm telling you, when Wyatt is particular, he's particular.
Homewise.com.
And my man Cody, Premier Electric or Gateway Electric, 2 great companies. They do electric in all houses that we build, which is 300 to 350 houses a year. LOL. God, that's a lot. No wonder he's always ripping and running. Now that dude gets out of bed early.
Well,
Cody?
Construction?
Well, he works on homes. That dude's constantly on the hump. He may call us this morning. One of the legendary coach retired, so he may want to talk to us about Mike Denny.
Sure. Give us a ring, 888-638-4876. Did you see?
There are so many people smarter than me. Life is great.
Did you see the White Sox game yesterday?
I saw
Kyle
a bit.
Farmer
I saw
smoked in the face.
I saw bits and pieces. Do you know what I thought of? What I think of when I saw that?
When you saw him get hit in the face?
Yeah. We just had this conversation. Aroldis Chapman or Mike Tyson?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So guess what I immediately thought?
I may want Mike Tyson.
Give me Mike Tyson. But remember, my quantifier was you couldn't hit me in the face with a baseball.
Right. You have to hit in the back is what he said. Now, Kyle Farmer is in the process of getting his teeth reconstructed.
Yeah, bro. Oof. I've been that guy. These are veneers.
Are they really?
Yeah. Not clean, smooth.
Did you hit the bar on your helmet?
Well, I can't really remember exactly what happened, but I got my mouth. Everything got dislodged at in an arena game. I broke my nose too. That's why I have nasal or
Man,
I have fiberglass stents.
I'd have to guess then that your mask just kind of came up.
So after that, I was a visor guy for like one night in Florida against the Gators, and I took it off immediately. Thought it was cool. It's pretty counterproductive. I couldn't see my hand.
It looked great on TV.
Couldn't see my hand in front of my face, so that like disappeared in a hurry. But yeah, like I cringed, and I remember in 7th grade we were playing South Omaha Pee Wees. My man Nick DeGeorge, shout out, and we were at Gladiator Park, and I took one off the face and swelled my eyes shut, and I was fielding a ground ball, took a bad hop, of course, right? It's always a bad hop. And my dad wouldn't let me wear a mask. So I missed one game. I remember it was like a Tuesday or Thursday. And by the weekend I was playing and still a little gun shy, but there would be no mask with old Dr. Benning. It was back on the saddle. So
left some dirt on it.
So I feel for those guys that get hit in the face. You know what I mean?
Scary, man.
It reminded me of like when Rocky was hitting that meat. And did you see the original Rocky? And he's like punching those sides of beef.
Oh yeah.
Like the slap when a ball hits your face like that, it's like, ouch.
Ashley's dad, when he was playing slow pitch softball, just rec league stuff, got hit like, I don't know if it was like a centimeter or two lower than where his temple is, and like it instantly died on the spot. Just a ground ball coming through, bad hop, tunk into the head. Had to go to the hospital. Very scary situation.
Yeah,
but yeah,
there's the I don't know if you remember, but there's a little deal that runs along the side of your temple that connects to your brain, where if it gets hit just right, it turns out the lights. Like that's what happens to boxers. That's what happens to boxers. Doesn't matter what kind of chin you have. When you get hit like right there, like I'm trying to do it, but really I'm not, because I don't want to.
And sleep.
Like it's uncontrollable.
Yeah. Pretty scary. But happy to hear and see that he was okay in that moment too. And can you imagine a pitcher, man?
No, a lot of weird baseball yesterday. Like my buddy John asked me yesterday morning, he's like, "Gosh, is it time to start fading the Rays?" And I almost said yes, because Sale, I know he's not the old Chris Sale,
still Chris Sale, but
he'd been pretty good at the Trop. And it was 3-0 after one. And I was like,
first inning over.
I was like, glad I didn't say, because I thought about it, right? I'm like, 11 in a row at the time. Sale is pretty good there. Maybe they get him on a humbug. Nah, it's a pretty good team. They rake.
Are they supposed to be that good?
No. Remember, like 98% of the people took the Yankees to win the East. Now it's early, but like look at their game lead after 12 games. Like it's absurd. You're 4 games up. Like that, it shouldn't happen this early.
You look up and down their roster, and you only feel really good about Franco and DeRozarina. Like
on paper, right.
And then you look at the rest of their lineup, DB. Their leadoff hitter is hitting 278. Then you go to the 5 spot, who's hitting 250. Your center fielder is hitting $172. Your catcher is hitting $182.
I don't know. I get it.
And you're 12-0.
I get it.
Do you back that with good pitching?
They're
great rotation.
He has Manny Grandal, right? He's going to hit 240, but he's going to be on 220, but he's going to be on base all the time. So there's only two divisions in baseball whose last place team is out by more games than the Rays are ahead of the second place team in their division. So I believe there are 2 teams in baseball that are either 5 or 5.5 games out.
Okay.
On the bottom, like last place,
right?
Which is much more conceivable after 12 games, but still kind of you're probably pretty bad if you're 5 games from the top already, versus being 4 games ahead of the second place team in your division.
Pretty wild.
Dude, that's nuts.
Pretty wild. And the AL East was the area that we said, hey, most teams are going to come out of there.
Mhm.
Like if you're going to pick wild card teams, they're going to come out of there too. Did we have the Rays?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I go to my handy dandy raggedy.
I know I had the
notebook.
Blue Jays. I know I had the Yankees.
So I'm Mariners, Rays, and no, wait a minute. And the Angels. I got to go to my handy dandy notes because that's a pretty good question.
I don't think I had the Rays.
You know what? You might be right.
I had Yankees, Blue Jays, Guardians,
Guardians,
Angels, Astros, Mariners.
Who did I have? Did you write it down? It's in here somewhere. God, this looks like trash. Who writes like this? Will this be me? Do you like how sometimes I'm just in my own head?
I like it.
Well, it's
old fashioned.
It's kind of
cool.
Weird. It's kind of weird. I just asked Sasha to help me do something that I should be able to do in my sleep. It's kind of embarrassing, but.
So who are the two teams? Is it the Tigers? Is that one?
Yeah. No. Yes. So it's really, if you count the 4.5, it's the Royals, the Tigers, and somebody's 5 out. I think it's the Nationals.
Okay.
So Royals are 4.5, Tigers are 5.5,
Nationals are 5.
and the Nationals are 5. I mean,
the Red Sox are 7 games back, and they're 5-7. Can you believe that?
That's and they're not in last in their division.
No, they are.
Oh, they are.
But still, 5-7. The Tigers are 2-9 and are 5.5 back.
It's unbelievable.
The A's are 3-9.
And did you see what the A's are being outscored? And they have 3 wins. But what's the A's run differential? It's not the worst in base.
49.
Hey, after 11 games, that's
the Tigers are minus 42.
Like, just say that out loud.
Yeah,
it's not very good.
Gotta love it.
But I was hoping, and it's early, that maybe 3 wins as a start. I'm hoping the A's just do A's things and like aren't trash. Because I think I liked them over
for a Moneyball scene.
Well, I think I liked them for over 53.5. Like I wouldn't do futures like that because you just can't stand having money tied up. But I think that's right. I think that's their number, and I kind of liked it. Long way to go.
It's a long season.
Well, they can't hit. I mean, look at that lineup. It's like
it's bad.
Huh.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you just offload every good player.
Hey, how about that new stadium talk? How's that going?
Yeah, maybe we should win some games before we move forward with that. Hey, we're talking to Mitch Sherman at 8 o'clock today. We'll talk the new Big Ten commissioner right before Brian Edwards at 8:45, and then Michael Bruntz at 9 o'clock. I have to go to the MLB scoreboard for today. I got to give Michael Bruntz a first inning under bet today.
Oh Lord,
I'm 0-1. I gave him one last week and it didn't turn out well. But after he hears my weekend with first inning unders, he'll be like, Andrew, I'm back on your train.
I'm back on.
I'm back on.
I'm back on with this paid tout, and because I'm going to ask Mitch, is he afraid of these guys? Like everybody else is. I don't know if it's low hanging fruit or it's real. When you hire a TV guy as your commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
Are we trending in the wrong direction?
It'll be interesting, but there's a lot of good things.
I agree
about Tony. A lot of good things. We have the Sports Six Pack to close the show as well, but when we come back, you'll just have to find out.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon, Benning, Andrew Rogers. We'll also get into some new faces of Husker basketball later on throughout the show.
Can you win the offseason? Sure you can.
And I think there's still more work to be done.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to turn out, though.
But there are a lot of people out there that grind on their daily life. And yesterday, I was stopped by a pair of Mormons, telling me about Jesus Christ and how they interpret the Book of Mormon.
Am I thinking of Jehovah's Witness? Did you ever see Friday?
Friday.
Oh, Lord.
It's Friday.
There's a lot of black people in it. One of them was Ice Cube, and the other guy was. Oh my gosh!
I don't know if I've ever seen Friday.
Okay,
maybe Terry Crews was in it.
That's what Terry Crews
wasn't he in it?
No.
Oh, that's the other. No, that's
Tiny.
Yeah, that's Tiny. But we had a guy from.
Wow. Do all black people look alike?
No, but we had Big Worm on. Remember we had him on?
Yeah, we had Big Worm.
Yeah, Big Perm. I mean.
Hey. I'd like some chili cheese Fritos. We're out, fat boy.
I've seen clips. I haven't seen the movie.
I don't even know if we can be friends.
Yeah, we can't be friends because there's 3 of them. You really got to get. I mean, if you haven't seen Friday.
Shane, are you even in this conversation, or did DB bring this up?
Okay, back to your religious experience.
So anyway.
So apparently that's not the people that ask you if you're prepared for Jehovah's return. that would be Jehovah's Witness,
No,
right?
that would be
Okay, I
Jehovah's
got you.
Witness.
Makes sense now.
So they were
not
talking,
just another pretty face,
They were talking to my fiance and I, and then when they left, they always say like, "Hey, is there anybody else you know in the neighborhood that could like use like Jesus' saving grace or whatever?" And I turned to Ashley, and this was after they left. You're welcome. I turned to Ashley and I go, "Yeah, I know some guy that lives up the road. I actually work with him. Like, if you just knock on his door, he'll let you in." I'm like, he would kill me.
Yeah, we'd have
he
to
would kill me.
we'd have to ask him. I'd be like, "Yeah, who sent you?" Yeah, there was this little wispy built guy down the street, and he said you need some salvation. I was like, well, he's right on one account, but it's not you guys.
And you know what? Actually, come back in about an hour because I'll have something to confess.
Yeah. And
Be right back.
And by the way, when you do check out Friday, don't go with the director's cut. Just go with the original release.
This dude is something else, man. Listen, man.
I'm just trying to help my man out here so we can be friends.
Now you guys are back to being boys.
I don't think so.
So should I feel some type of way, like a little guilt, that two of my players came over last night and got on the roof because I did not want to?
Did they do it because you asked them to, or did they do that because
no, they were asked?
The kindness of their heart. Did you pay them?
I smoked some burgers for them.
Ooh,
big, fat, juicy bacon cheddar. Ground.
Yeah, see, I kind of compare that example to like if I asked you to move.
They
like
did it.
Move.
They did it in like 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, if it was only that long.
No, seriously, like it was. I mean, to my guys too, Christian Jones and
if it was like an hour, I would say like,
Jake,
you should probably toss them a few.
They
bucks.
ate within the hour. Like they ate within the hour.
Then I don't think you should feel bad.
Okay, because I don't know if I'm afraid. I just wasn't getting up there. I did get the ladder down for him. That was cool.
Good on you.
Thank you. Baby steps.
You're halfway to being
an adult.
To being an adult.
Yep.
To being a man.
Yep.
Doing those manly things.
Yep.
Like getting on the roof and cleaning the gutters, which I have to do.
I did put gloves on to throw the charcoal away in my basket too. I used to not want to do it. I would just dump the whole thing, but this time, because my barrel, you get filthy, and I don't like to get my hands dirty. So I put rubber. I got some rubber gloves now again. I used to have boxes for when I was thinking about committing murders, but then that never manifested.
I use gloves. It's cool.
And yeah, so we'll see if the
I don't want to get stuck with it.
If the garbage people take it. Maybe I'll put some cardboard on top.
I have a lot of branches in my backyard. I met my neighbors the other day, and they're like, you can throw that stuff in the trash, right? And I'm like, but I have trash. Like, this wouldn't fit in my trash can. It's not like I have a few sticks going into the can.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this. I think I should know the answer. Styrofoam is not biodegradable, right? Or is it?
Oh, goodness. You're talking to a guy that sometimes looks up what can go in the
So
microwave.
you know how you got busted, right? They didn't take your trash because you didn't hide the dog poop. Okay. So I had 1 yard waste removal. Well, the recyclable with the cardboard and the styrofoam and stuff.
Sure.
And then the regular trash. So when I got home, take the trash cans in, the styrofoam was in the regular trash. They made a conscious effort to take the styrofoam out of the
recycling.
bin. So it's not a recyclable?
I guess not. Well, actually, no, because I get styrofoam cups at QT all the time and I throw them away. So yeah, that would make sense.
But they went out of their way to take it out of one and put it in the other.
Hey, they're just looking out for our planet.
And left it. You're not.
Wait, they left the whole recycling bin?
They left the styrofoam. They took everything but the styrofoam. And I'm like, well, if it's just trash and you put it in my regular trash bin, well, how come you couldn't just take it?
Well, because recycling and trash are two different things.
Bro, they took the recycling.
Right. I'm with you.
So I had two bins.
They took recycling. They went into your recycle bin, moved the styrofoam to the empty trash can.
Yes.
And then poured in their recycle bin. And now you're left with an empty recycle bin.
Yes.
And a styrofoam in the trash can.
Just the styrofoam. The trash was.
Right.
Unless the trash people came first.
They probably came first.
Oh, see, that's why you got to block. That's why I got to process these things.
That thing wet.
That would be my guess.
That thing wet, man. That thing wet.
You are so
childish.
wrong. Yes, I feel like we should talk sports.
Let's go to.
But it's a lot. It's hard to talk sports when you get all your world's problems solved.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like some people out there.
He'll know. He'll know.
Let's go to line 1, Shane, and talk to Cody. Cody, good morning. You're on the show.
Cody.
What's up, Cody?
Looks like I'm going to have to reboot this again.
Good job, Commander Shane. I want to talk to Commander Cody. I guarantee you he's gonna answer the phone, and he'll answer like all 3 of my morning questions. He'll just.
Do you have an electrician? 1.
Yeah, he's that dude. Like,
2. Let's talk about retirement.
Yeah, it was a great. And I forgot to call my mom, and because she's got a ridiculous affinity for Coach Denny. The long time Omaha great that has retired at Maryville.
Mm-hmm. That's actually 20 minutes down the road from where I grew up. Maryville.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Small world.
I know.
Do you know
Go Saints?
Do you know what comedian? No, you didn't see Friday, so I know you don't know what comedian that is. It's Robin Harris.
Yes.
You do know Robin Harris?
I know the name, but I've never seen that clip. Yes, I will admit to that.
Shane,
because I haven't seen a movie doesn't mean I don't know what the comedian is.
Shane, do we have Cody? No,
he's still rebooting the system.
What takes him so long to answer?
Shane or Cody?
Shane.
I'm just rebooting over here.
Rebooting. So can you win the off season already if you're Nebraska basketball? Because that's what
you want to go to Cody. Let's go to Cody.
All right, let's go to Cody.
I like that we asked a question. He's just like, no, we're gonna do this.
Dude, we totally don't run this show. Cody, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, you're just kind of moving along here this morning. How about you?
Hey, I will trade you an electrician if you know a good ear guy, because I think I'm deaf from the noise that just came through when the call dropped. Oh my God!
I do have a great ENT. His name is Dr. Wehrman. He's over at Children's. He's fantastic.
I think I'm a little old for Children's, but maybe I can use Stetson.
Dude, I tell that to Shane all the time, and he gets by. You'll be all right.
It's all size.
Hey, no, I was just calling talk little Mike Denny.
Yeah.
And just what a tremendous career, a tremendous guy. Just everything. You talk to, I mean, obviously, you know the guy. You've been tied with UNO's program forever.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to anyone that knew him, and wrestling will never be the thing that come up. It'll talk about how genuine of a human he was, how much of a leader, like just about everyday life, teaching guys lessons.
Yeah.
And then you add in on the wrestling and what he did.
So, like, it's hard because at what point, Cody, should we just appreciate who he is and not reflect? Can we not do those two things, or is it just impossible because of how it happened?
I think we're at that part, I think, where, I mean, reading all the social media quote tweets and Facebook and everything yesterday, I think everyone's on that side. We're just appreciative. I mean, Ron Hagen had a fabulous post last night.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Talking about the character he is. And I think we're on that part. But I don't think what Denny did can ever be topped. I mean, his first year, UNO finished 12th in the country.
Yeah.
His next 30 years, they never finished worse than 7th.
Well, he's no question. You know where that place is in my heart. It's towards the top.
That's a close one.
Appreciate you,
Cody. Thanks.
Yeah.
Very committed to student athletes. Coming up next, we're talking the Big Ten commissioner.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Go ahead.
This just in. Apparently, I'm not very smart.
Oh.
So, but by the way, though, like, if you're friends with somebody and they called you a dingbat, like, when have you ever heard that term?
Yeah, it sounds like something that
your mom would say.
Mom or dad would call me.
Right?
Yeah.
He's younger than me. Who says dingbat still?
Gosh, what do I
He's
say?
like, they come at different times, dingbat. And I'm like, all right. But just like I said on air, I did not. They usually kind of come in like succession, like, and typically recycling comes first. So that probably is the better answer. I know they come at different times, but what was dumb that I was saying was I didn't even realize that's what happened.
It's all right. Sometimes when you get your mind stuck on something,
I just was like, God, I said that
else.
That takes a lot of nerve because I've never seen them get out of the truck. So when you told me that you got caught,
yeah,
with the old poo poo,
couldn't believe it.
I was like, dang, man, they take some time. Usually they just drive up, those arms come out, and it's like,
right. And why would it matter? Because they're all in little bags. Like everything's still in a bag, but they wanted it in one big bag.
Yeah. So my next project, I call my sister. She'll know. So what is it about? There's something about styrofoam.
Thomas on YouTube says it's very much not biodegradable. It is nearly indestructible. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Makes sense. There you go.
That's the smart guy. He's the guy that told me the Pujols contract.
See, I need to be.
You need to be friends with Thomas.
I need to be friends with people like that. I do. I'm serious.
Smarter people than you.
Yes.
Surround yourself with smarter people. He's one of them.
Do you not hear some of my questions? Like, there's.
Yeah, did you hear some of mine? I haven't seen Friday. Although at least I knew Terry Crews wasn't in it.
Well, you know.
You didn't know squad.
Shane, who's
Tony Cox is in it.
Hey, yeah,
Tucker's in it.
Speaking of
Miss Parker,
you just looked up the cast, Shane.
Miss Parker's in it. Didn't have to look her
Shane,
up. I know Miss Parker.
All right, now wait, Shane. Let's
Miss
test.
Parker's.
Let's test your knowledge here, Shane. Speaking of Tony's, what part did Tony Petiti have in the movie?
I don't remember. I haven't seen the movie for a long time.
So now we haven't seen that movie.
We haven't seen Tony Petitti?
Yeah, we haven't seen that movie of when he becomes the new commissioner.
I got the email yesterday. Wanting me to join the conference.
Oh,
put in for my press pass.
Yeah, but are you going to Illinois for it?
No, not going. I said, thank you, Big10.org.
Got the email.
Oh, man.
Yes, there's a new Big Ten commissioner, and his name is Tony Petitti. And
I mean, instead of ding, that's the worst thing you get called the day you're living.
Yeah, you're living well. Hey, I think Petitti seems like a safe and solid hire.
So I don't know, man. So when it started to leak over the weekend, it was like so the first thing I immediately thought was, man, TV exec, experience, contracts. Oh man, like what about the actual play? But I kind of talked myself off the ledge because I'm still not sure where like athletics and some of these presidents are in the Big Ten. I don't know if they're on the same page or not. So maybe like if admissions are down and it's all about generating revenue and the universities are going to get more money, like maybe everybody's on board. I just don't know all the dynamics. I know a few of the schools, but
yeah.
Generally speaking, I just don't know about those dynamics.
He's very smart in regards to understanding what deals come with what sports and being a part of so many different sports. Obviously, he was with Major League Baseball, but when he worked in TV, he oversaw acquisition rights for the college football playoff, right? Yeah. For one, the Little League World Series, March Madness, the things in the NFL. There are things that he probably knows. He's so widespread in his knowledge to where with this new TV deal, even though it's in place, you still have to find a way to navigate it, right? You still have to find a way to continue to generate money and generate revenue. And so I think that was probably the biggest pull in this case for the conference to say, hey, he's the guy. He may not have that so-called on-field experience, but if we have somebody that can micromanage this new TV rights deal and then put his hands in other baskets while he does it, it's a smart hire. I think it's a really smart hire. I'm a fan of the guy. I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, knock on wood, hopefully we don't have to navigate a pandemic again. But I wasn't as down on Kevin Warren as some either, because I think... Nor was I.
Well, and I just thought...
Took way too much heat.
And we got into this pretty good, so I won't rehash it. But I think at the end of the day, the Big Ten Conference is in a better place than when he left it. Now, you can haggle and fight and hem and haw about who gets what credit, but when you start getting down to that, how bad was he? I mean, if you're really getting in the weeds.
Yeah, let's go 3 years' time. What did he accomplish in 3 years? He may have made you mad at one point, but what did he end up accomplishing?
I think the Big 12 is definitely positioned in a. I mean, when you look at like what's going on with the Pac-12, are you not mortified? Like, how is this going to work with them being a viable conference?
It's a mess.
We're talking CW, and no disrespect, right? I mean, CW is in. I would venture to guess that CW is in more homes than ESPN2, but this is where we're at.
You want to settle with CW?
I like Kliavkoff. Like he's
a good leader,
and he's kind of this mold that we're talking about in terms of commissioners, right? His experience, his background. I just think that's the way athletics are going, because it's not so much about. I just think we're being disingenuous to be all up in arms over, academics and amateur status when we're not moving in that direction. Like, are we? I'm not. I'm not trying to be that guy, but let's just think about it out loud. before we're like, oh, I don't like this because of this, or I'm fearful of this, or, and I get it, right? If you're a college athletics purist, you're already in trouble. That ship may have sailed.
Probably.
I mean, just imagine if they somehow figure out a way to bring NIL in-house.
Yeah, that would change up some things.
So you're already in trouble. I think with college athletics and amateurism. So do you
the current athletic model,
do you try to get on board and stay ahead of the game? Because if that's the case, I more than can see the hire.
You don't want to be stagnant,
right?
That's for sure. But the current college athletic model is so hard to understand.
You already got a politician. You got a politician run the NCAA. Like we're not kind of seeing how this is working,
right?
Because I think ultimately they want legislation fiscally on a greater level than currently the NCAA has power of, right? So they're waiting for government help.
And is it going to come?
Hey, step in. Hey, we need a treasurer. I just think if you don't play the game, you're just going to get left out because you don't know the rules. And it's like I told, I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. I just kind of have this philosophy, right? We can play it however you want to play it, right? We can stay above board. We can get petty. We whatever. I just want to know the rules.
And I don't think you ever will.
And if you tell me the rules, I'll try to figure out how to play the game. And I think with the Big Ten, I think they're trying to stay ahead of the game.
And even with rules, you're always going to try to find a way to bend it. Always. So there's going to be
or at least get out in front.
There's going to be a learning curve for Petiti here. There absolutely will. As you mentioned, NIL. I mean, what is NIL? Are we still unsure about what that is? There's just so much uncertainty to kind of like get out and instead of just scribbling it down and erasing it, bolding it. There's nothing bolded right now. Now, with all of the big media deal, right? With that taken care of and the expansion of the conference, with all of that taken care of, there's a couple of priorities that will have to be first checked off his list before anything else. It's one, making sure that transition is seamless for USC and UCLA. And the second one is, with all of the uncertainty in sports, you have to keep the Big Ten where it's at, like in its prestige. Like those are I think his two biggest priorities right now.
I still have a hill that I'm trying to die on. Because I said it 2 years ago and I want it to come to fruition. It wasn't 2 years ago. I've been on this and I said, I'm not wavering. Because I thought Washington and Oregon were a done deal, pretty much, when
I do remember
SC
alluding to that
and UCLA came. So I still think like the Pac-12 will lose a couple of more teams, and I think they will ultimately be in the Big Ten. But as long as this media, you're talking about a seamless media rights deal, I think at some point it's going to include acquisition. Right? So
I could see it.
I think. I mean, don't you? Why would you want to be in the Pac-12 right now?
You wouldn't. You absolutely wouldn't. There is so much wrong there. It's not even funny.
And I think they have a good commissioner. I think he's just playing my man is literally playing Jack 8 offsuit.
Let's ask a brighter mind when we come back. Let's talk to Mitch Sherman about this and more with the Husker football program. That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh my gosh, it's night and day. A lot of people laugh at the snacks, right? But that's real. When you have Eric Gilbert in there at 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? A tight end coming to join my room just to freaking grab some hot fries and obviously like steal away to kind of teach him a play because just the familiarity I was with the offense. And then also, like I told the guys, like that's their office, not necessarily mine. So when you see Billy Kemp, Josh Fleek sitting in my chair running the remote, it's a lot more powerful than me sitting there teaching them.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Happy to have Mitch Sherman joining the show now. Nebraska and college football for the Athletics at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, good morning.
Morning, guys. What's going on?
Uh-oh.
Mitch, you sound like an alien.
Should we bring him back? Shannon, you have to hurry. I have like 75 things I have to ask Mitch. Can we get him back rebooted? Mitch, we'll call you, or we'll get you right back to fix the audio on the link.
Okay.
Yeah, hang tight,
all
Mitch. That sounds like we were in a spaceship or maybe a UFO.
Yeah, I can't have my time with Mitch cut short because
there's a lot to get to.
There's like rapid fire. It's like
I'll let you go.
Mitch, can you hear us okay? Nope, we're still getting that audio.
I can hear you.
I'm trying to figure out what Shane is doing over there. Hey, Mitch, you want to re-enter the You want to re-enter the link, and there we go. We'll start over. Thanks, Shane.
Always starting from scratch. It's what we need.
Starting from
buttermilk biscuits at Hardee's, right?
Oh,
made from scratch. Wasn't that the thing? Their common catchphrase.
When they pay me to eat their delicious breakfast, I'll start endorsing them.
Oh, is it delicious?
It's low-key underappreciated.
Oh,
good portions. Good portions.
It doesn't shock me.
It's okay.
Good breakfast. All right. Well, I'll make sure to try that out.
Well, looks like we've got. Do we still look like we're sitting on the floor?
I don't think so.
Should I get taller?
I had to lift up my laptop. Well, my camera above my computer isn't actually connecting today.
We got Mitch here on the phone.
All right, we're just doing the phone thing?
Yep.
All right, phone thing's good.
All right, Mitch, you here?
I'm here.
All
Sorry,
right.
There he is.
Step down in technology, but I'm with you.
It's our best friend and worst enemy.
So this changes the tenor of the conversation because I kind of enjoy seeing you relax, just having a nice coffee.
I know. I've gotten used to that. It's nice. It's like I'm actually there having coffee with you. But, we'll do it again in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly. So let me ask you. I want to start with. We'll go rapid fire here because I want to start with the commissioner and the new hire and his background. Is for you, when you look at it, is this the Big Ten trying to just stay ahead of the game, continue to play the game, or what you see is what you get in terms of where you think leadership in conference commissioners are headed?
Well, I think this is where they are. I think when you look at what the Pac-12 and the Big 12 especially, because the Big 12, I think, has really made some progress since its hire, a year ago now, and has done some good things. And these hires are coming from outside of college sports, outside of college football, and in most cases in the world of big media. And that's what the Big Ten has done. So I think the Big Ten is, not necessarily leading the way in this hire, but it's maybe taking things to the next level. Just because of the experience that its new commissioner has. And you see somebody who was the chief operating officer of Major League Baseball and did the work with the MLB network that he did and with other major networks. So, he's going to be able to walk in on day one and have a great understanding of what the Big Ten needs to do to even more enhance the relationships that it has with its media partners. So that is the priority outside of college sports today.
Yeah.
Outside of that, Mitch, how big of a learning curve, though, will he have once he sets foot in this role? Because he's never been an executive in college.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a learning curve. He's going to have to get around to various campuses and meet presidents and athletic directors, and I'm sure he'll want to meet some coaches. But considering the background and his work in sports, just because this is college, I don't know that there's necessarily going to be a huge difference as far as him understanding what the interested parties are going to want from him as a CEO type.
Mitch, what about, and I'll move on after this, what about, do you think the growth, I know obviously the easy one is, okay, Big Ten baseball has a chance to kind of maybe be better, right? But that still takes a commitment on the university level. But more importantly, what about Title IX in Olympic sports? Sometimes we kind of roll our eyes, but with compliance and the way that I think equity is moving, I think the magnifying glass has grown some. How about command in those areas?
Well, I guess we'll see, because, his experience is obviously not working with non-revenue producing sports.
Yeah.
I don't think the Big Ten is going to make a hire like this without getting the answers that its presidents wanted to hear on things that go beyond just football and basketball. It's important to the Big Ten to be a diverse conference as far as what it offers its fans, and to have athletic departments, even in today's age where football drives the bus more than ever with the kind of financial impact that it makes. I believe that the Big Ten presidents, when they go out to make a decision like this, are looking for somebody who is going to be a good soldier for all of its sports. But that entirely remains to be seen. what that's going to look like, and if he's going to be hands-on with women's basketball, which got a boost this year as Iowa played for a national championship. With volleyball, it's been a champion, a top of the ladder sport for the Big Ten for quite some time. What's his relationship with wrestling going to be like? You bring up baseball, and that's really intriguing because of Petitti's background in baseball and work with MLB, and you would think that he has a passion for that sport. I'm sure he does. So how does that translate over to Big Ten baseball, which has been, a sore spot for the league for a long time, not just because of the weather, but because of its entire commitment to the sport. So you have the College World Series now for more than a decade in the Big Ten footprint. That'll be interesting to see right away here this first year, this spring, as he takes office. What his visibility level is like at championship events, and the first one up, or one of the first ones up, is going to be college baseball.
Mitch, I want to just ask one more question here, and then we can move on from the commissioner. What does you mentioned right away this season? What does he need to do right away to avoid a similar backlash to what Warren received when he first stepped in? Now, I know Warren's situation
not have
was
the pandemic,
right? I know that was unprecedented, but in order to stay on people's good side, what needs to be done?
Yeah, avoid a pandemic. I'd say that's the or some kind of worldwide catastrophe. That would be at the top of his list. If I'm walking in on day one and I'm Tony Petitti, I'd say, okay, let's not have the sports world shut down in the first few months that I'm on the job. He's got the TV contract done. There's going to be a lot of eyes on him as far as what his view is about expansion. And does the Big Ten want to move forward, or is it and continue to expand, or is it going to stand pat with the addition of USC and UCLA next year? That's going to be a big objective for him, I'm sure, is just to foster that transition, make that transition smooth for the two new California programs that are coming in next year. I'm sure he'll spend a lot of his time right at the outset working on those matters.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to steal one more with the landscape. It's still, man, and maybe I'm just hearing what I want to hear and seeing what I want to see, but I still think acquisition is not done, and it'll be relatively soon. I mean, how are Oregon and Washington? Oregon is not going to play in that Pac-12 pond. Like, what do you think we're waiting on?
Maybe this. It's possible that the Big Ten wanted to wait to make any kind of a decision or take that next step until it had a president in place, a commissioner in place, somebody who is going to run this league moving forward. I don't know that that's the kind of step that you want to take in seeking out another school or two schools or four schools or whatever it might be until you knew who was going to be driving the bus and leading the conference. So this could be what they're waiting for. And we don't know what his stance is. Maybe he's a guy who thinks that 16 is the right number and this is where it needs to be. And that, sometimes you can go out and add teams and potentially bring in even, cut the revenue that the current members are receiving. That's all going to depend on who those teams are. And, I don't know that the numbers have been crunched. I'm sure the Big Ten has looked at it on adding schools like Oregon and Washington. Do you gear up and find a new way to make a run at Notre Dame? And if you do that, who's the partner there?
Stanford.
So, there's a lot to dissect as far as expansion, possible expansion. I don't think it's done either, Damon. I think we're in a spot in college sports, particularly with football, where, this stuff is going to come up every year until every seat at the table is full. And to me, it doesn't look right now when you, like, if college sports is a boardroom and there's chairs around a big table, it doesn't look to me like all of those seats are full. Like, there's still things that need to be determined over the next, sometime over this next decade.
We're talking to Mitch Sherman, Nebraska and college football for The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, I want to go back to Tuesday. How much did you read into Coach Rule saying, when talking the age of McGuire, our people are hindering recruiting?
Yeah.
Who do you think he was addressing there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I don't know if he's talking about the media, and by saying our people, that's a broad definition of that, because I don't think that there are staffers at Nebraska, fellow assistant coaches of McGuire, people on the support staff who are out there pushing a narrative that his age is what defines him. But so the only thing I can think of is it's kind of a media narrative. Maybe you have a better idea than I do what he meant by that. I was puzzled. I kind of scratched my head, and I wasn't sure if I heard it right. And when I listened to the interview back, in fact, that was what he said. Or, maybe he just misspoke a little bit, and he just means that there's, Rule is very aware of all of the things that are being said and written, in all different forms of media about his program. And that's good and bad. You don't want to have, you don't want your ears to be perked up over everything that you can kind of go crazy, because you can't control what people say. And there's people who have various agendas. So that's, and that's only going to continue to get more loud as we get closer to the football season. I'm sure he'll be more focused in on, things internally, when August gets here. But, he knows what's being said, and he knows what's being said about Garrett McGuire, that he's 24 years old and doesn't have experience in recruiting before this cycle, and that there's coaches from rival programs who are probably trying to use that against Nebraska. But I think he firmly believes that Garrett's strengths outweigh any weaknesses that may be posed by that inexperience. And that's, to me, been evident so far in his time on the road. In talking to people who encountered him in the recruiting world, it's across the board. He's getting rave reviews. People are impressed with the manner that he brings into conversations about recruits, how he walks into schools and is ready to have the right kind of conversations, ask the right questions and things like that. So, I think that stuff will work itself out. And, probably the way that Matt Rule described it in saying that when Garrett starts churning out prospects, NFL prospects, those kind of comments and that narrative is going to die down. And, he's not going to be 24 years old forever. So, when he's 25 and 26 and, doing the work that he does, I think that's going to fade away. Somebody's going to be younger than him before too long.
Mitch, I just get the sense over the last couple of pressers, I thought Thursday's was fantastic. And then there was this one where surly may be too strong of a word, but there's definitely, he talks about intentionality. I think he's been intentional in the message that he's trying to deliver. Do you get the sense that they're a smidge surly, a little edgy, or is it just this stage in spring, the recruiting kind of buzz seems to have tampered down a little bit with some of the recent commits other places? Like, what feel do you get the last two times he's taken the podium?
Well, I just think it's getting more real. He's getting more comfortable. It's not all going to be parades and butterflies all the way through his time here. There's going to be times where he's irritated about things. They've had, a few moments here and there in the first 10 practices of spring where, Rules had to kind of re-clarify things with the media about, what should be reported. This is not like these practices that we've been allowed to go to. It's not like we're at a game and it's a public setting and, everything that we see is just fair game. It's not like, he's coaching on the sideline on a Saturday afternoon and it's on national TV. Like, it's an earned right to be able to go in there and watch practice. And if he wants to say, hey, keep the personal interactions private, that's not the stuff that I want out there. Well, then that's what he's within his rights to say that.
Yeah.
And he has some things to work out. And if you can't agree with that as a person who's granted access to practice, well, then I guess you just probably shouldn't go. But he's had some things to work out in that area. And yeah, I think that's created, I wouldn't say that it's been there's not been a lot of tension. He's still very enjoyable to work with. And the way that he's such a great communicator, the way that he goes about, getting his message across, it's effective.
Yeah.
And, we heard on, what's today, Thursday, we heard on Tuesday when he was asked about the transfer portal and what kind of attention he's devoting to that right now as spring winds down. I thought he was quick with his response and said, I'm not thinking about it at all. he doesn't want the conversation to be there. He understands that there's things that have to be done with this roster that involve the portal. But I think that he wants his focus right now to be on this team. He knows he has limited time left before they get to August to work with this team on the practice field. So I don't think he wants to spend that time dealing with portal issues, but that's just kind of the reality of college football right now. And in 2 days, the portal opens up again, and he's going to have things to think about. And I'm sure he's already thinking about a lot of it right now.
Mitch, I know that you are close with the family, and you did a great deal covering Dylan Raiola a couple of months ago. But his recruitment is still something that people are highly interested in. And after Cliff Kingsbury got hired on at USC, for me, I felt like that could give USC an edge. But I want to ask you, because you are kind of deeper into that relationship than I am. Do you think a hire like that would give USC the edge more than, say, Nebraska right now?
I don't think that's a huge factor in where he's going to end up.
I agree.
And we'll see where Kingsbury, how his role on that USC staff progresses. But it's my understanding that he's there as the senior offensive analyst. So he's not going to be working hand in hand on the field with the quarterback. Now, look, coaches in those roles, and you can go back to Steve Sarkisian at Alabama and his direct contact that he had, even if it was off the practice field with quarterbacks and how he helped them grow, was important in taking Alabama quarterbacks to a new level and what we've seen over the last few years. So, and Kingsbury is a guy, I mean, obviously his track record speaks for itself going back to college. And, Patrick Mahomes is the poster boy, but he's not the only one of the great quarterbacks that Kingsbury's worked with. So I think that will carry some weight with USC recruiting. And no matter what role he ultimately fills on Lincoln Riley's staff, and Lincoln Riley himself, his track record with quarterbacks is unmatched at the college level among coaches who are in the game today. So I don't think USC really could go much higher as far as what the appeal was with the coaching staff and how they might, that group might be prepared to take a quarterback to greatness. I just don't think that's where Dylan's mindset is. I think he's looking really hard, of course, at Georgia right now. And I think Georgia's the leader. I think for Nebraska to remain in a great spot, it had to secure a commitment here before we got into mid-April, or really even into April. Nebraska had its shot to kind of take that thing over, take that race over, win the race in March. And that's not necessarily because of anything that Nebraska did or didn't do in that time. It's just where Dylan was at with his comfort level and really what he saw from other schools. Georgia's done a great job of not just staying in this thing, but I think taking over and taking command. So I don't think that USC is the leader. I don't think that USC is still a factor like Nebraska's a factor. But I think if Nebraska people are concerned about another school and where he might end up and not being Lincoln, Georgia is the primary concern there.
Mitch, let me get you out of here in this, just because I think he's got Coach Rhule's got a really good understanding about, Raiola. And I was explaining or intimating Monday that I think it's about timing more than anything, right? Where not enough time to really get to know Satterfield or what, Coach McGuire may bring in terms of wide receivers and all these other scenarios. And I'm just thinking with Gage committing elsewhere and I think Thomas is at Whiskey and they lost Sprague, how much of Coach Rhule understanding that they do need to win to sell a vision better than just being a good orator? How much does him understanding that and kind of embracing the challenge change the recruiting game that he can play after year one?
Yeah, I think they had this idea going back to December, and it's good to aim high. You don't want to say, hey, we've played like a second-rate program or a third-rate program over the last 5 years, 5-6 years, so we should start out recruiting at that level and then try to bring it up as we improve the play on the field. That's not the mentality that he wanted to take, and it's not what he did. They set out when they made efforts with this 2024 class to shoot for the top. And I think they figured there was a scenario where things could fall into play that would involve getting Dylan on board. And, you know, in that world, you probably could have recruited above your weight, you know, punched above your weight in recruiting. But, you know, we're kind of seeing, I think, you know, it's not like it's fallen apart. I mean, they've done a great job this spring of getting players on campus. And I think that has to be the number one goal, is to get them to Lincoln, to get them to hear your message, to begin to spread the word, to just create that visibility and that understanding about what Matt Rhule wants to do. If they shot high and made these, you know, statements of, you know, through social media about what they wanted their recruiting to look like in 2024, and then they couldn't even get anybody on campus to talk to them about it, then that would be a huge problem. But they're getting guys, you know, from in the region, from in the state, from outside of the region to come here and listen to what they have to say. Now, I mean, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to get all of them to commit. And, you know, they didn't get, or they haven't gotten to this point, like one of those really big fish, like a 5-star guy to kind of start the dominoes. So I think that's why you've seen it not quite take off yet, as, you know, Ohio State and other programs that are just so much more entrenched in like playing championship level football have taken off with their 2024 recruiting. That's just not where Nebraska's at as a program. I think in the scenario that we've seen play out, it's unrealistic to think that Nebraska is going to be able to match those guys right now. So continue to spread the word, you know, bring guys in as much as you can on this official visit period in the spring, continue to work. And then when you win, things are really going to start to come into place.
Mitch, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much. And we will talk again in a couple of weeks.
Appreciate you, Mitch, as always.
That's Mitch Sherman, Nebraska and college football for The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. As you said, we probably could have asked him 10 more questions.
Yeah, I got some follow-ups. There's some interesting things. And I just got a Benning Bite thought, too.
Ooh. Well, hey, good news. We're talking to Michael Bruntz still at 9 o'clock. Save it for that. More next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
What a good interview that was. Talking with Mitch Sherman right at the top of the hour. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Back with you. Just tremendous stuff from our guy over at The Athletic. Before we move on, I want to take a moment.
Feel like you're going back to square one.
Tell you about Acres Ale. Acres Ale is a product that works in tandem with Zipline, but what's great about Acres Ale is it's a nice, light, crisp, refreshing beer. If you're looking for a new beer to either try or to, boycott against, because that's what we're doing nowadays, don't boycott Acres, because Acres is that nice, much needed replacement. Acres Ale, you can find it really anywhere. Just go get yourself a case, and I promise you will not be mad. And if you are, Shane told you to do it. Now, we were talking with Mitch, right? And Mitch had some things that you took away and you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, it's just...
What else would we be talking about right now?
I'm just listening to him and then going back and forth over the press conferences the last week or so. And I think he's kind of on to something too, but better when he was expounding on like recruiting. And I go back to what we talked about Monday, where I said, it just seems like it's bad timing, right? If he had another year with such, with this relationship building, because you don't want to get caught up in the hype. Even I guard against it, right? It's like, I've told you, right? It's like, man, and then you have to kind of temper expectations, and I see it a lot more. So just imagine kind of being a recruit and not getting enough of it, but wanting more, but feeling like you're kind of up against it in terms of the clock. I just think he fully understands, and this is kind of my question. I don't know if this is a blessing or a curse or what, but he knows where the shortcomings are, but he's not held captive by it. He's going to continue to move forward. So I think there's some sort of good that can come out of saying, hey, listen, man, we're 3-7 against Minnesota, right? Like, why do you think just because we're Nebraska that they should come here? We have to get out of that mindset, because having that mindset is kind of how we got here.
It's only setting you back.
And it's weird when I hear it out loud and I put it against or with the words that Mitch said because I think I got it. Like, I think that's what it is. Because what I'm saying is, sometimes when we know things about ourselves or we know things about whatever, we do just the opposite. We cover it up. We try to prolong the inevitable. We don't really like to say out loud what the issues are. It's just not human nature. So for him to address that and drill it into his staff, hey, listen, he told us last week, I just clicked to me, hey, we're caring, not coddling. We're not here to thank the fans. We're here to win games. He's not talking to us. Mm-hmm. It's like this light bulb just went. He's talking to his staff. He's talking to the state of Nebraska. He's talking to his players. There is no sense of entitlement at the University of Nebraska because you're Nebraska. This is not your God-given birthright to think that you're better than or that you've arrived because you beat Minnesota or whatever, right? Like, he's motivated by that. And I think it pisses him off, right? It's all click. Who are we? What have we done? What have we done? And see, there's nothing wrong with that because you know what happens? You don't sleep. You're competitive. You're restless because Nebraska. And the reason I get so excited is because Nebraska is a place that can spoil you. Mm-hmm. You can get spoiled here living the good life, taking care of things, and having a blank checkbook. It has to be ingrained in your DNA to grind because it can convert you if you're not careful. I think he's very careful, especially early on. You don't get the Lion references. You don't get all the caring, not coddling. You don't get we're not here to thank the fans. We're here to win. You don't say all that unless, number one, you actually believe it. And number two, it's important to who you are. You want that in your fabric. Mm-hmm. Don't rest or think you're something that you're not just because you're Nebraska, because you haven't earned the right. And he's the first person that's actually really saying it out loud, and it pisses people off. But not because it's not true. It's because we're having a hard time reconciling whether he's being demeaning and not thinking we're very good or how to take it. He's just simply telling you, hey, listen, we're not good enough yet. No, we're going to be. I firmly believe that. But we're not good enough to be acting and thinking. I just go back to everything he said since he's been here about his players and the due diligence and the mat drills. It's all connecting for me. I'm dead serious, right? Like, he's guarding against complacency over nothing. We've gotten complacent over just being less than average. You gotta stop. He's basically saying you have to stop. And to go out here and recruit, yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna shoot for the moon. We're not gonna lowball because I want you guys to understand why we don't have to place. This is the beauty of the message. Why we don't have to play second fiddle because we are Nebraska. We are second fiddle because we've been Nebraska. Right? So you can
and that's the point.
That's the point.
That's the point right there.
Yeah. That's the point right there.
There's a difference between being spoiled, because you had mentioned spoiled, and being blessed, right?
Totally.
When you're spoiled, you get everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes things you don't. Yeah. Sometimes things you haven't earned.
Right? You don't work for it. You claim it because it once was. But being blessed is having all of those same things, but also still earning and striving to be better, to doing it right, to doing it the way it should be done. And that's where this transition needs to go. Right now, Nebraska's just spoiled. You're spoiled because you had all these great teams and all these great programs.
And we don't want to say that stuff.
Right. And for the last 5 years, it hasn't been. So we've the the fan base has latched on to all of the good times, the good life, as you were saying. But you got to get back to being blessed. You got to recognize that, but also continue to live it. And that's what you want. That's what you desire for. So after hearing everything Coach Rule says, be ticked off. Be excited about it, because you have somebody now that's saying, hey, stop with this BS of all this old stuff. Stop with the, hey, because we were once this, we can do this. No, we are this. No, it's be blessed. Know that because of this, we can do this. And that's the point that Rule is driving home. And it's that fresh perspective. It's like going to the market and getting fresh fruit over going to the store and getting processed whatever, right? No, you want the freshness. You love that. You desire that.
It's just I like the blessed analogy because it's just starting to all make sense. It really is, because I know why he's aggravated. But I also don't think it's a deal where he's not waking up mad. I think his thing is he's putting in guardrails that fit with his personality. And he's just not about the transactional stuff. It's got to be something deeper and bigger for the connection. And if that's not what it's about, then it's not for him. And when he connects it to the history of Nebraska, he's been telling us, like, now I can just think of line after line. He was on Bussin' with the Boys, right? Hey, as I like to say, I'm paraphrasing, right? You can embrace the past. You can't be held captive by it. Or, hey, man, I mean, you guys were 4-8, right? Like, why are you worried about what I'm doing? Let me do my thing. And you guys just come along and help support, right? Now, I'm going to listen. Doesn't mean I'm going to do. He's been telling us this the whole time. I just think the summation is you don't have to play second fiddle, but understand full well you have been second fiddle. Just because you were doesn't mean you always will be, and it goes both ways. Just because you once were really, really good doesn't mean you're good right now, and just because you've been bad doesn't mean you have to rest. Doesn't mean you have to rest in that either.
Great point.
That's kind of what I think it is.
Great topic of conversation. I love that you plucked that out of your brain and brought that here. That was fun.
A lot of that was Mitch.
Combo. Yeah, well, he added to the fire. We appreciate
this
his
sparking thought, man. I'm just listening.
Brian Edwards up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
Were they using the cream cheese to butter the bagel?
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
It's always fun when you get to talk to Brian Edwards on a Thursday because you know you'll be making some money. Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com and BrianEdwardsSports.com at Vegas B. Edwards on Twitter. He joins the show now via StreamYard. Brian, good morning, man.
B, what's up, buddy? How are you?
What's up, gentlemen? How we doing?
I like that Dayton shirt.
Yeah, my dad is good friends with Tom Ostrom, and he was an assistant.
Humble brag.
On the staff. Yeah. He was friends with him based on when he was at Florida many moons ago. So I've got some Dayton gear in my closet. That's why.
I thought it was because you're an Obi Toppin fan. I didn't know.
I am. and you know I will go to my grave saying they would have won the 2020 NCAA tournament. And I had what was the ticket I had? I think I had a 70 or 80 to 1.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was pissed.
They had taken Kansas down to the wire in OT.
Maui.
Yeah, I remember. I remember, B. Are you were you surprised that the short dog, I wouldn't say short dogs, I think they both were getting 6, won outright last night?
Yeah, I ate the chalk and went 0-2. Unfortunately, I mean, I felt good about Toronto most of the way. I don't really think I was on the right side with New Orleans though. Even though they made that late first half run, and I did have New Orleans in the first half, which was kind of a fortunate winner. So I didn't get completely bageled last night, but 1-2 was not very good. But look at OKC, and here we can talk about the Bulls more here in a sec.
Oh, that's my team, Chicago Bulls.
Well, let's go.
I was taking some heat from our guy Joel Lorenzi for trying to bring him up the other day, but these are my guys. I don't care if they haven't been very good.
He likes the Chicago sports franchise guy, but the line is surprising for us, especially for a team that can't score. Right, the Heat just don't get easy buckets, and it's 5.5 again.
5.5.
Yeah, and I was surprised by these numbers. I mean, I looked all these numbers up just in the last hour. Chicago won all 3 regular season meetings against the Heat, and 2 of them were in Miami. They won 116-108 at Miami without Levine, and that was when Miami was fully healthy. Miami was fully healthy for that game. The second meeting at Miami, Chicago won 113-103. However, Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler were out that game. And then in Chicago, March 18th, the Bulls won 113-99. Lowry was out that game. But this is the stat that really surprised me. When the Bulls have been underdogs of 5 points or more this year, they are 15-6 against the spread with 13 outright wins. I like the Bulls plus 5.5.
I like it too. I like it too based off those numbers.
It seems like just too many. Like Miami sometimes has a hard time scoring 5.5 and half a quarter. Like that offense can be bad sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, my Hawks defense is terrible, and they only scored 106 the other night, and that was with Lowry, who hasn't played much. You know, they rested him a lot.
He looked shot.
Well, he had 33 the other night. I know he hadn't had a good year.
Yeah.
Right. But he played. He was hitting everything against us. I thought my Hawks were going to blow that game the other night.
Well, Trae Young just can't defend, and it was good to see him play well despite the leaking of the articles and stuff like that. But he seems to be like Teflon, but apparently not very well liked, it seems.
Yeah, I hope O'Connor comes out with another bad
article,
bad story about my Hawks tomorrow on the eve of game one at Boston.
You know, I actually think, because we talk about a lot, you know, lines being a little too large for games. I don't think the +9 is that bad. I could even see myself, and I'm not going to fade B. Edwards here because he likes +9 in favor of the Hawks, but I could see the Celtics covering the 9.
What do you think, B?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could certainly see it because Boston has, you know, owned Atlanta this year. Well, let's see. They beat them by, 25 one game and then beat them by 9 and by 6. But throw out the 6-point win. Both teams rested starters. That was last weekend. But I just I don't know. Maybe it's just Miami's not very good, and maybe I'm falling victim to recency bias, or maybe I'm being a homer. But I've been down on the Hawks all year, so I don't really think it's me being a homer. I just thought they played terrific the other night. I like what Sadiq Bey has given them, and maybe maybe the Quinn Snyder effect is starting to take hold a little bit. I mean, gosh, he got there so late. Was it even after the All-Star break? I think he only been with them like what seems like 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks tops. I'm not sure on that. But anyhow, I don't know. I just liked how they moved the ball the other night, and you know, playoffs sometimes, you know, teams can get just a new sense of rebirth, if you will. So +9, I think 9's a lot. I'm gonna go with the Hawks.
Are you concerned at all about, and hopefully, since you're taking the Hawks, maybe you aren't concerned, but it doesn't seem like Boston's all that healthy to me. It's always little nagging stuff, right? Whether it's Smart or Jaylen Brown or even Tatum for that matter, who knows that offseason may require some work done. But does that sway you at all?
You know, I'm expecting them to be full go. What did Barkley said something the other night about, did Jaylen Brown cut himself and he's got 5 stitches in his hand or something? Yeah. I missed that, but I had kind of tuned out the last week of the regular season because everybody was tanking, and I didn't really do many games. So I didn't even know that. I hope it's a shooting hand. He's got 5 stitches.
What about this one, though? Hey, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, but no, I'm expecting them to be full go, so that doesn't really play a part in the handicap, but I hope they're banged up.
No pun intended. 3.5, Grizzlies and Lakers. Lakers had regular season success, and not all of a sudden, the last month or so, the bench has been good. Davis is put together back-to-back great months, even though I wouldn't call him clutch.
Right, he's starting to look like
it's a small line, just 3.5. Lakers a very publicly bet team. What do you think?
Oh, B, we lost you.
I think he must have clicked one of the buttons.
One of his little side buttons.
Nope, nothing yet.
Nope. See, he didn't even want to answer that question, DB.
He's like Lakers. What we do here? That might be on his end, Shane.
His end, RM. What do you think, Shane?
I'm searching here.
It happened all of a sudden. Nope, we're not hearing.
I think he said he muted himself.
I muted myself. I didn't.
Oh yeah, there he goes. All right, B. What do we think with Memphis?
Okay, so the Grizzlies. Look, I was fading the Lakers like every game when they were on the road early in the year, but I like you said, Anthony Davis has been back to his form, and they've played great here the last couple of months. But I can't turn down the Grizzlies this small a number at home. Now I will concede LeBron was not playing this game, but the only time they played at Memphis did win by 9. Okay, Memphis at home this year, they've been a home underdog or favored by 4 or fewer only 14 times, 10-3-1 against the spread in those games. At home overall, 35-6 straight up, 23-16-2 ATS. I just got to go with Memphis here, laying this small number. And it doesn't hurt that, I thought the Lakers looked like garbage the other night.
It's a bad basketball game.
Wasn't it?
But Brian, I'm telling you though, as a diehard Lakers guy, that's how they have to play.
Bad?
They'll shoot it better, but they got to keep it lower scoring and defend. That's just how they got to win.
Yeah, Minnesota couldn't throw it in the ocean in the second half.
8 minutes, 9 minutes worth. That was bad.
That's also true. Brian, I know you probably have looked at futures. You probably haven't bet on futures, but if you had to like a team at this point to go the distance in the NBA, who is it?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't like it.
Yeah, there you go. That's my answer. Shane, brilliant minds think alike. Yeah, I wrote an article about the futures the other day, and nobody really stood out to me. But since you asked that, I did talk some college football the other day, and the LSU win total just came out. And not only do I like them -1 against FSU in college football. I'm sorry, I just switched sports on you, but
I like it. I like LSU this year too.
Yeah, I do too, and I like their win total. They moved it to over 9.5 from 8.5, where it was a minus on the over. But now you can get plus money, at least at FanDuel, like almost plus 140. And I looked at their schedule. I mean, I think they go at least 10-2, looking at their schedule. And so, anyway, I switched sports on you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I trust you, B.
All right,
we appreciate you.
Let's go get it, B.
Hey, last thing. Tanner Bozer's a short underdog against Kutubala, or I think that's how you pronounce it, on Saturday, UFC.
All right, going with the short fade.
Short dog, or he was short dog at last look. Bozer.
All right,
it was just fading Kutubala. Y'all have a great weekend, gentlemen.
Hey, you too, Brian. Thanks so much. We love having him on the show.
Using the cream cheese to butter the bagel.
Yep, something like that. And
it's got to be touchdown.
Maybe that was his wife in the background buttering a bagel, like an actual bagel,
or his mom. Maybe I don't know. He might be at his parents' house.
It could be. I don't know.
He's always traveling down there, so we'll see.
Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com and BrianEdwardsSports.com. Toss him a follow at Vegas B Edwards on Twitter. When we come back, we're talking to Michael Bruntz, senior writer for Husker 24/7 Sports, or for just 24/7 Sports, I should say. I got to say this. As much as I'm talking myself up for these first inning unders on Twitter, I only have like 2 teams I like right now. So I gotta really do some homework during this 4-minute break.
Don't panic, because you'll do something you don't want to do.
I feel okay though with the 2 at least. So we'll talk that. We'll talk more Husker football, more recruiting, Husker baseball, all that and more next. Stick with us.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds.
It's kind of a lazy parent take, right? It's like, because I said so. It was tough.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, 9 o'clock, which means if you tune in to KFOR in Lincoln, you can catch us there. 590 ESPN Omaha, live on Twitter, live on YouTube throughout the entirety of the show. We appreciate having you along for the ride here on Thursday, alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, bringing in now Michael Bruntz. Michael Bruntz, senior writer for 24/7 Sports, at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. Nebraska football, baseball, and recruiting. We'll talk about it all. But first,
they've just been so all over the place this season.
Good morning.
What's up, Brunsy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're good, man. How are things?
No complaints. No complaints. This is like the spring ball that won't ever end, it feels like. It's dragged on a while. We're at that point in the spring.
It's interesting, right? Because I wondered, Brunsy, if that was part of – I had all these reasons why I felt like Coach Rule has been so on point his last two pressers, right? He's been very sharp, right? I almost said surly, but I've changed my mind in the last 30 minutes. You think that's part of it, the doldrums of spring? Like it's – Mitch likened it to it's getting closer to being real now. Is that kind of how you feel, or what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to say, you don't want to say it's like mind games or anything like that, but you, as a coaching staff, you're probably wanting to see, you know, the depth and length of the focus that your team has. And I mean, they're well into spring ball. They still have another week left. I don't know. I mean, I think it kind of reaches a point where you're just like, okay, I've been practicing for like a month here. And I mean, Matt Rule even said, you know, on Tuesday that he would rather, you know, the spring game be a week later too.
Yeah,
like
I caught that.
This is going too quick for him. I was like, really? Like let's wrap this up. No, but I think that's kind of the idea, is that they want to really take their time and be deliberate with teaching. You know, I know they're being, you know, deliberately slow about evaluations and depth chart and that kind of stuff, but I can't help but think that, you know, the work that they're doing and the time that they're really taking also kind of feeds into just kind of figuring out what the heck they have on this roster that can help them when you get to the fall.
Speaking of that, Bruntz, I asked this to BC yesterday, and I'll ask you this too, because as you said, 10 practices in, we're kind of getting to the point where we're like, all right, is the spring game here yet? Like, is it here? Who would be your MVP through the first 10 practices?
I mean, we've been very limited in what we've seen. We've seen some practice, so I'm going a lot off of what we've heard. And again, it's, who gets mentioned a lot and who gets mentioned a lot unprompted. And I mean, Gabe Irvin continues to come up a lot. They love that running back room, and I think they really like what Irvin brings as kind of the do-it-all type Big Ten back that you need, that can maybe break a play for you, but can also, get in there with Iowa and Minnesota and kind of push the pile and get you 4 yards when you need 3, that kind of thing. So I would go there. What BC say? I'd be curious to know that.
He said Gabe Irvin as well.
Yeah. Well, it's just groupthink over at the Husker 24/7 office, I guess. But,
we'll have to ask Mike J tomorrow, because he swims upstream, so he'll probably say, like, I don't know, something just the opposite.
Nash Hutmacher.
A kicker or something. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the Bullock brothers. Yeah, I think I would go Irvin. I think defensively, I think it's a little. It's been a little bit less. Kind of the same guys that get mentioned. So I would go Gabe Irvin at the front of a well-liked running back room as the MVP thus far.
Bruntz, let me ask you about, is it too soon? Do we not know enough, or because of he has yet to lie to us, that when they bring up random kind of obscure guys, that we get the sense it's more than a spring story because they have a blank slate?
Well, yeah, and it's also, I mean, that's part of also getting to this point in the spring too. Is it's kind of the Royal Rumble sometimes. You never know who's going to come out of that door, but I do think there's something to that. Like, I mean, you get Heinrich Harburg on the first day, and I mean, I think he's right in the mix. More so than he's ever been at quarterback. And, he had a strong off season. I think it's more than just the on-field stuff too. I think it's, if a guy's kind of, doing the right things in the meeting rooms, he's being a good teammate, that kind of stuff. I think that carries some weight too. I mean, the fact that, we talked to Thomas Fidone right out of the gates too. I mean, that to me is a signal that, okay, this is a guy worth knowing and following, just based on maybe what the staff thinks of him. So, yeah, I think it matters who you talk to. I mean, I think in the past, you kind of become a little bit of a prisoner to just the available players to talk to in the spring, where a guy gets, hyped up a little bit or talked about maybe more than what's deserved. But I don't think that, Matt Rule, and he, does get a little bit of say in who comes up there. I don't think that he would just throw somebody up there just to do it. I mean, I think he's well aware of narratives and, putting things out there and how it's going to be perceived. I mean, that's been obvious from, what he's, when he's stuck up for McGuire and Donovan Raiola at various points since he's been here.
Stay right there with McGuire, because we heard Coach say last Thursday, caring, not coddling. That's kind of how they go. That's how they operate. But when I was listening to McGuire, and people know I'm a huge McGuire fan, big fan of Garrett, but I may critique him a little bit here, and I want to get your thoughts, because when he was asked the question about like a name that is standing out in the room, he wanted to kind of keep things equal and say like, I don't really want to pinpoint somebody. And Fleeks ended up saying something similar to that when he was asked.
Everybody.
But what I want to ask
really,
is
everybody.
What I want to ask is, do you get the sense that is coddling over caring? Because when you're thinking about like maybe playing favorites, that's the point where I was like, oh, are you actually coddling here, or are you caring, or am I just looking way too far into something that's not even there?
Yeah, well, he said he didn't want to name names, and he named 3 walk-ons, I think.
He did follow up a little bit later with that.
Oh, man, with Alex Bullock's, Tyhan, and
Roman Mangini.
Mangini, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's night and day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't read too much into it. I mean, he had been asked, kind of by name about a number of the scholarship guys that I played. I think he talked about Xavier and Marcus Washington, a little Billy Kemp talk. So I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes as a coach, you probably don't want to go too much into it. And he also kind of didn't get into it when you get asked the open-ended question about who's standing out. I mean, I think that's probably a good coach thing to do in some ways, is when you get asked who's standing out, you kind of put it back on the whole group. I mean, I don't appreciate that as a media member. I would appreciate some very opinionated answers on who's ahead of the group, but I get it from the coaching perspective where you kind of want to just punt on that one.
So let me, Bruntz, appreciate the duality or kind of miffed or cool that in one vein, it's kind of what you said, do the right thing off the field, right? Class, wearing the right thing, making sure you're not swimming upstream, plus practice productivity. Yet we know going in, and he's told us, and even Coach McGuire said it yesterday or day before, he said, height, weight, speed, or height, length, speed, height, length, speed. But then in the very same sentence, he's talked about the Nebraska, what do you say? Nebraska speed, Nebraska fast, which is going hard all the time. It's not really a mixed message if you get the best of both worlds. But on one hand, we hear a lot about availability and dependability and doing the right thing. But then we pit it against the backdrop of knowing that they like measurables. Are you just going with that, or is there something that's a little off there for you?
We're trying to find both, right? Like you want the measurables, and you also want the intangible stuff with it. And I know I'm not naive. I understand that sometimes those two things aren't in the same package. But I think, to me, it's not just McGuire. Like you talk to other assistant coaches, and we did a series on our site, kind of looking at different states that this staff is recruiting and kind of how they evaluate and that stuff. I mean, it's very on message for how they evaluate traits. I mean, like it's they want length, they want speed, and that's across the board. And I think in terms of the intangible stuff and guys going hard all the time, I mean, that to me is more of a mindset, I guess. And in my mind, in my very simple mind, I separate the two, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't. Should I not? Like, I guess I've always kind of looked at that as like, okay, these are physical traits. Over here, this is more of a this is how we approach practice, how we approach games, how we approach things. And I guess as a coach, you're trying to get the two to meet. And maybe that's where, these guys in practice, this coaching staff coaches these kids hard. Like they demand accountability in the middle of the drill. I mean, they'll pull guys out, coach them through. I mean, I guess that's, in my mind, what they're trying to do is match what you're talking about, Damon, with, okay, we've got a guy that's 6'3", 190 that runs a 10.4. You know what I mean?
BC, Bruntz, I keep saying BC. Bruntz, I watched him. I don't think Meltdown is too far off, but they stopped practice and had to have this conversation about making sure that the stations weren't off by the 2 plays that they were off at the time, right? Like, it seemed excessive, but I loved it at the same time. Like, the uniformity of what they wanted to have happen when you're supposed to rotate and when you're not boiled down to 2 plays. Is that sustainable, or does that just become like muscle memory, except it's your emotions?
You're hoping that it becomes muscle memory, right? Like that to me is kind of like a first spring thing. Like you're setting the tone. And they did this at a different practice that we were at, where things weren't as they were supposed to be. Practice got stopped. Coaches had to accept some accountability for their role and things being off. I guess to me, it's like, okay, things aren't looking right. This is not how I want it. We're stopping things and getting it to how it needs to be. And it kind of fits, I guess, along with everything else with, when you're talking about making sure that guys are dressed appropriately, that they're wearing the right things, that the back plate is covered, that kind of stuff. That's a piece of it. And it's holding coaches accountable. It's making sure that players are accountable. Is it a little excessive to stop the whole thing? I don't know. But I mean, if making that change now means that in the middle of August, you don't have to make that change, maybe there's a benefit there.
We're talking to Michael Bruntz, senior writer for 24/7 Sports at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. Michael, before I ask you some baseball things, I want to ask one more thing about spring, because as the spring game approaches, it's just a little over a week away. What do you think is the number one? What number one thing on the priority list that you think needs to get worked out before April 22nd, or is it just, let's just keep going with the flow because we're still so early before next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still working on getting good at the football part of it. I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily one thing at this point. I mean, I'm curious to see what the format's going to look like for the spring game. I mean, do they have enough guys at certain spots to be able to, do something that's an actual football game? We'll see. But I don't know that there's just one thing. I mean, I think it's, I guess this is kind of a coachy speak answer, but I mean, they need to get better each day. I mean, that's where you're at as a first year staff. I mean, you're trying to install some things, and it's competition right now, and trying to see who can help you, and also teach things the way that you want them to be taught. So I mean, most coaches will tell you that spring game is just another practice to them. I mean, I think that's probably some truth to it, with the lights a little brighter, but I don't know that there's necessarily absolutely one thing that Matt Rule is like, okay, we got to get this done this week. I mean, I think it's just kind of a holistic thing right now still for him in getting this thing going in the right direction.
Transition into baseball, Brunsey. If not Caleb Clark, then who?
I mean,
I tried. I wished him into. I tried to speak it into existence, man. I don't know, Brunsey. I don't know.
I think a couple of weeks ago, Will Bolt this was before they moved. This was kind of in the midst of the emergence of Will Walsh, but he had kind of wondered aloud if they started going to a starter, just the starter thing, getting a guy to get you through the first inning and kind of piecing it together on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I don't know if that's such a bad approach. I mean, with the way they have it now, it seems like a tall ask to ask somebody to get you through three. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, Drew Christo comes in and gets.
Well, he looked lights out, didn't he?
He's just casually pumping 96.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. Yeah, I mean, he gets 3 outs on 6 pitches. Corbin Hawkins has looked good at times. I mean, I don't know if that's such a bad approach on Tuesdays. It's hard to do that, but I mean, I think it's an opportunity to maybe get some guys some innings. And if okay, the 4th inning is mine. I mean, maybe as a pitcher that helps you kind of shrink things down a little bit more, and you close things out with Shea for a couple innings. That might be the approach. I mean, the only other thing I can think of is, if you're going to pitch Walsh on Sundays, maybe you try Brockett again. I mean, I just don't know that anybody's the answer right now.
It's interesting because, I asked about Coach Christie a couple weeks ago about what you were hearing, and you said, hey, it's kind of out there, right? It's the elephant in the room. But you start digging into the pitching numbers nationally, and they're not that bad, right? Their whip, their team ERA, it's actually pretty good. And so is it the occasional what in the world, or is it the ability to kind of just be clutch in the moment? Because I think both things may be happening at the same time.
Yeah, I think, the numbers thing is an important conversation because I know he takes a lot of heat, but even going back to last year when they weren't, the team wasn't very good, but the pitching numbers they kept it on the road.
Yep. Going into this season, we wanted more offense, right?
Yeah, well, you're getting it, and I think with what you're asking, I mean, it is just a matter of finding a guy that's ready to go when it's his time. And Caleb Clark has had his opportunities, hasn't done it. Brockett's been okay in small doses. Garza hasn't been able to do it. So I don't know what the answer is, but, I do think that as a staff overall, the guys that they can rely on, they've been able to rely on. It's just a matter of that next kind of line of guys that are really important to have in midweek games. And they have not been able to find that one person. Because even the other night, I mean, you hand off the ball after the starter's out of there and things look okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's like a mental thing at this point, but I do think you have to kind of consider really shrinking things a little bit and saying, okay, we just need 2 innings from you. Get us 2. And that's it.
Speaking of pitching, Bruntz, who's who's going to be pitching gems in the first inning today, huh? We're gonna start off with. I got 4 for you. So I hit one over the weekend. I went 4 out of 6 on solos, and I hit one over the weekend.
Oh Lord.
So I'm feeling good coming into Thursday, and I knew that we were gonna get into this, so I'm ready.
I can't believe you gassed him up, Bruntz.
Yeah, he's all for my degeneracy. Is that a word?
I'm trying to put my kids through college here.
Yes, that's how I think, right? My future kids. Yeah. All right. Hey, we will start. I should probably go in order of time to make it easier. Red Sox, Rays, Kluber, Springs. Springs is perfect on the year. He has not allowed a run all year. And Kluber, I can see him getting past the Rays' top side of the lineup. I really can. In his first 2 outings, he went 0-1-0. Yeah. So that's what I'm planning on. So there's your first. Then we are going to the 5:40 game, Phillies Reds. And you may be thinking, what? Why the Phillies Reds? Well, I'll tell you why I'm thinking Phillies Reds. Falter, Lodolo. Lodolo is another really good pitcher. As long as he can get by the Phillies top 2, I think he'll be okay. And then the Reds, they're not scoring in the first inning. They're just not. And then you have the Twins, Yankees.
Wow, you're going against the Yankees.
I'm going against the Yankees. Joe Ryan, pretty good pitcher, good numbers on the year. And
is it Brito?
It's Brito.
Wow.
And he's a stud. Like if you've watched him pitch this year, oh my gosh, is he good? And then the last one, my St. Louis Cardinals against the ugly Vince Velasquez. And I'm a little worried about that play, Bruntz. 9.82 ERA. But I'll tell you what, I've watched the Cardinals for a long time, and if they don't string together hits early, they're not scoring. If you see that first batter get out, you're set.
Oh my gosh.
Good. They're not hitting the home run. They're not.
That's the tell.
They are not a solo shot team. They are not.
That's the tell. In vintage Bruntz sarcasm, that's the tell.
That is. If that first guy doesn't get on base, we're good.
All right. Is the most amazing thing you've seen this season so far, Bruntz, the Rays?
Yeah, they're pretty impressive. Oakland played a 3-gamer there and didn't look like they wanted to play much baseball. And that probably was more about the A's than the Rays. But yeah, they're doing it. I don't enjoy watching them, but it's pretty impressive.
You have to be kind of happy with 3 wins out of the gates, right? You're still only 4 out.
The preseason number was 59.
Oh, is that okay? Okay, so I was low, but full disclosure, Bruntz, I did like the A's went over the win total.
Yeah, well, because you're thinking no team could possibly be that bad. They can be. They can be.
Well, I tell you what, I look at like the run differential this early, and it's staggering.
Yes,
for the A's.
No, it is. Yeah. It is staggering.
I've seen it. I've watched most of it. It's bad. It's really bad. Do you think Do you think that some rich guy in Vegas right now is watching that thinking, man, we should really get that team here?
Bruntz, I was joking earlier. I don't even know why this came up in the opening segment, but I go, yeah, how's that new stadium plan going over there in California? When's the move?
I think that there's like an inflection point somewhere, right? Where like Vegas is like, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to try and get our own expansion team. Like that's got to be the play now.
Well, you ever seen like a 25,000 seat Major League Baseball stadium?
I've seen a 76,000 seat stadium.
Bruntz, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the knowledge. We'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Bruntsy.
Guys, thanks. Yep.
Michael Bruntz at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. If you want a fantastic follow, and you will see some Oakland A's stuff on there as well.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He's a good guy. Hey, when we come back, let's change gears. We'll talk.
Is that the tell?
New faces of the Husker basketball team. Yes, thank you, Bruntsy. Thank you for the sarcasm. We're done.
Whew.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds.
I don't know. I mean, it's just been kind of a fun ride.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Before we get into some basketball talk, I want to take a moment and tell you about Dingman's Collisions Center. Dingman's is the only place to take your car if you have any issue with it. Shane, question for you. That taillight of yours, fixed or no?
I have not made my way to Dingman's yet, so I would say no.
Well, I wouldn't ding to that then. I will say this.
I'll ding to Dingman's anytime.
I will say this, though. That happened how many weeks ago now? 3?
What are you saying?
Not everybody's as financially well off as you, Andrew.
Yeah, I know Shane makes more money than me.
No. Here, I think both.
Shane makes the money on the
Shane
show.
is living his best life, though.
Shane makes more than Damon and I combined.
He's like the electrician and the trades guys.
Yeah,
this thing can't function without him.
That is 100% true.
Hey, I have a new sound effect for you.
What is it?
It's my car starting up. How do you like that?
That does sound like
it kind of does sound like that.
That's what it'll sound like.
Pedal to the metal when you go to Dingman's.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, I don't speed. I just get to speed quickly, and then I go the speed limit.
Yeah, Shane, that's called.
Do you remember that explanation, Shane?
What was the? I've seen somebody get pulled over one time for excessive acceleration.
Is that
from
a thing?
A stoplight? I don't know if that's a thing or if a cop just wanted to be. You know, he was having a bad day, and so he's like, I'm going to take it out on this.
I have heard I was changing lanes.
The
defense.
The only excessiveness I know. That's it right there. That's.
I still want to know what was said.
I remember I looked it up. Some Japanese guy on Reddit, right? It's true if it's on the internet.
He's probably saying he's on his way to Dingman's.
What a fool.
What?
Man.
Let's get into this. Who isn't a fool? Fred Hoiberg. He made some moves yesterday. How about getting 2 guys on the same day? That was kind of I don't want to say big because it's just different, right? And when you're in the mix of the transfer portal,
you've gone through the emotions, right? Because at first we were super excited, and then we're like, well, let's pit it against what everybody else is doing, and then we're kind of settling into like watching statistics from actual gameplay. And it's, where did you land? We're happy.
I was happy to see some names added to the list, but it's hard for me to ever think like, oh, you get a big guy that's going to replace Derek Walker. It's like, well, they're 2 different players. Like they're not the same guy. Like, yes, Rink brings in something that D-Walk didn't have, but what D-Walk had,
for sure get pick and pop.
Yeah, but what D-Walk had is he's a guy that even if at any point you needed somebody to take over the game, it's him. Like he could dribble from the free throw line, take 2 steps, absorb contact, and fight through it to get a bucket, get to the foul line. Like I said, I don't know if Rink's that guy. I know Rink is very good at backing up and doing a nice little baby hook. He's got good footwork, high IQ. He's different, though. And I don't want people to think like, oh, we found our Derek Walker replacement, because it's not. It's not the same guy. You're getting a totally different player, and you're going to have to play a different way to play to his strength.
Much better shooter, much better range. I think he shot 35% from three this season. I think he shot 52% from the floor. So he does give you more space.
Gives you the ability to stretch it.
But yeah, different kinds of games, although he does appear to be a very good passer.
And that's what I mean by his smarts, right? Good IQ.
Does appear to be a pretty good passer.
And so he's got a lot of experience under his belt. The guy coming over from Bradley, he was a first-team All-Missouri Valley Conference honoree. Yeah. He has the accolades to back up his game.
Had a big MVC tourney.
Yeah. And
for those like my
I would say a big senior year.
My man Degenerate Aaron that are all over capping Mo Valley Conference and hoops. He's that dude. And Missouri State -7, baby.
Let's go. Back up the Bears.
Says the guy that's got first inning unders.
Probably. I would back the Bears. And then you got Bryce Williams.
Yeah.
And Bryce is also a guy that can absolutely shoot it. 40% from beyond the arc. 13.8 a game. 5.3 boards. He is a transfer from Charlotte. Didn't start all year, but did start 13 games and finished the season on an absolute tear. If you watch the CBI at all, that's where he really went off.
Yeah.
But what I really like about him is not just the fact that he's a good shooter, but he's good when he cuts away from without the ball in his hands. When he does have the ball, he's got a good first step. He can rip and go. He can go baseline. He's good at creating space. I've seen him finish at the rim as well. So he's just kind of like that overall really good guard that you're looking for. And he's got good size. 6'7". That's really good size for a guy like him.
Meet me at the rim.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily because you got them, you're not getting others. So I want people to kind of keep an open.
It's the start. Because I asked you this. I said, is this enough? Like, did this get you like feeling warm and fuzzy on the inside? Yep. And you said no. And I'm like, I agree. No. You have to get a guy. You have to still find a way to get a guy, somebody to get really excited about.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it hinges on what happens with Casey and then that one other piece, because you still need a bucket getter that doesn't have to handle the ball, right? Like, it'd be nice to get a catch. And, if you get Casey back, maybe you get some of that. But
and Bryce can do a little bit of that.
Yeah, he can. So I know, Wrightsell is coming. He's made that official. Talk to he's made that official.
And Salas
will
has
be
an
here.
official too.
Yeah. I was surprised a little bit that he picked spring game weekend. But I kind of understand why. I just hope, I think it's important to know for Nebraska that it's not the pomp and circumstance that's going to do it, though. He's well aware of that environment and the historical, significance of spring games in Nebraska football.
It's going to be the biggest one.
He's well aware of that.
And it's not to say that he needs the hype, but as somebody that is as highly touted as he is, comes from the state, maybe you want to be there when everybody else is there because, you get to see certain people that you may not normally see, or when you're in front of a lot of fans.
And they still have quite a bit of family here,
good
too.
Feeling,
His dad's here. Yeah. No question.
So all in all, it's still time to be like, okay, you need to find that guy. When will that come?
Let me ask you something. Based on what you think Nebraska's roster may look like with the two new additions, do they need a Hunter Salas more or a Latrell Wrightsell more?
I think they need a Trell more.
For what he does, I would agree.
I think Trell's game
offense,
fits the need more than Salas right now. Not to say that Salas, I would say Salas is the better player.
Yeah.
No question. But to fit the identity of the team, you're looking for a Trell.
What I would love to see
I think Trell's easier to get to.
Ooh, I don't know.
Over Salas?
Keep an eye. Yeah, I think they're both down to about the same number of schools. I think it's 4 for the hood. Fair enough. Right. So I think there's I don't know. I'm not a math major. That's 25% chance, right?
That is correct.
So I think they both I think they're both down to about 4 schools. But it will be interesting. Because I think there could be like a player, and it wouldn't be out of nowhere, but Minnesota is interesting. I think Wake Forest is interesting for Hunter. Like there's some players that you're like, but I would love to see Hunter be able to play without the fear of knowing that he's going to get pulled if he's aggressive offensively, because he's a better slasher and can get downhill a lot better than what he was asked to do in Gonzaga, which was basically go stand in the corner and be a really good defender. Like he's capable.
And then get the ball to Timmy.
Yeah, right. So, and they had to stand around and watch a ton. He had to stand around and watch a ton. So I think if you empower him to score the basketball, he's a better scorer than what he showed at the Power 5 level. Now, you do know with Wrightsell, you're getting a guy that will go get buckets. I watched him make 6 threes at Holiday Turn. He's a shoot the arrow guy. He is an offensive minded, put the biscuit in the basket kind of guy. He is fearless when it comes to scoring the rock.
I'll tell you what, if you can snag at least one of those 2 guys at Nebraska, you're sitting pretty for next season.
Yeah.
You feel good about that. But we'll see. Official visits still getting underway. Hey, we got the Sports Six Pack coming up next. Get in your questions. And then if you ever want to get involved on the show, 888-638-4876. Sports Six Pack presented by Zipline. Yours next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes.
Man down, man down.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Before we
Andrew,
dabble.
why are you doing that? Hold on, Andrew, why are you doing that? Come on, man. Keep it on the light note this morning.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Man, I want to be in the beer lounge right now, the Zipline Beer Lounge. They have those oversized lounge chairs, couches, a fireplace, shuffleboard, full service library, lending library. You know what those are, right?
I do. I do now.
Wes,
Thanks to your mom.
That is true.
It's still going. Like it's full. It's like a little clear Woodstock Snoopy house. Yep. And it sits right there and people just
grab a book, put one back, grab and replace.
Cool family.
West Omaha neighbors, you'll be able to enjoy the freshest year-round seasonal and small batch beers Zipline has to offer. Check out the Zipline Beer Lounge. Great environment for a beer, a game, a read, or even a chat. That's 3808 South 203rd Plaza. Shane, you have our questions. Let's get into them because we always go over.
Question number 1.
Dependability is the newest ability word used in a coach rule press conference. We've already heard accountability, durability, and availability. What is next?
What's accountability?
I said accountability.
Oh.
The next ility is versatility.
Ooh. Ility. Are we going ility or ability? Like, does it have to be like
an ITY? I went with an ITY.
Okay. I'll go with an ability. How about suitability?
Fancy pants. I don't think he'll use it.
If he does, which word gets used first? Probably versatility.
Anything that ends in TY, because, right, intentionality.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of addies and itties. Mm-hmm. And I have to be careful saying those things out.
He's got his.
What are you talking about?
You were saying Liddy, right?
Itty.
Or
Biddy.
Biddy. Yeah, that's right.
Biddy.
Yeah, not to be Smitty.
I'm or a little too ditty. I'm going with versatility.
Okay, I'll stick with suitability, but I'm not in love with it. Measurability could be good.
Is notability a word?
It is a word.
I'm going with that.
Notability. That's actually not bad.
Well, does he want somebody to be notable?
At this stage, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Go versatility.
Question number 2.
Is there any team that could make a run like TCU this year? Not expected to make their conference championship and then go on to make the CFP.
I'll give you one. Because I think they're in the same pecking order relative to their conference.
Okay.
3rd or 4th at first blush, right? Because that's what you think of when you think TCU, right? Right. 3rd or 4th in that conference. I'll go with LSU.
Ooh, that's not a bad one at all.
LSU has that ability because people will go with Bama and Georgia. Much like they would formerly go with Oklahoma or Texas, and they can only do that for one more year.
Would you believe me if I said Texas Tech?
Not bad. People love Coach McGuire.
They won't win their conference championship. They're probably more of like a 9-4 team. Is that would you consider LSU?
9-4 won't get you in though. You got to get in.
Oh, you're probably right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're taking them to,
if you're 10-2 team, at
because
least.
remember the requirements were they weren't expected to win, and they did. Oh, I got no. I'm
UCLA, decent team,
not bad. Not bad.
I probably like that more than my Texas Tech play.
Yeah, I'll go with LSU.
I'll entertain UCLA. I'm not proud of it, but I'll entertain it.
Okay.
Is that entertain or entertainability?
It is not entertainability. I don't know if that's a word.
What is wrong with him?
I'm drinking.
Question number 3.
I'm drinking. Come on, DB.
If you had the opportunity every single hand, no matter what, to be dealt 18, but it can't change, would you take it?
If I had to play the same team, is this
so say it again, Shane.
If you had the opportunity every single hand, no matter what, to be dealt 18. but
So
it
blackjack
can't change.
18.
Yes, 18.
Yeah.
Jiminy Christmas, enunciate. Thought he said 18.
But it can't change
No matter what, to be
I
dealt
take it.
18.
So every time you just get an 18 and you're facing off against the dealer. Can't change it though.
Yes. I think I would.
See, at 17, I wouldn't.
Me neither.
No shot. 19, I think I would all the time. So
18 is in the
a
middle.
decent number.
I think I would.
You'd play 18 every single. I wouldn't. I would want since there's a buffer of 3.
How many decks we playing with? Is it 1 deck, 2 deck?
Come on, Shane.
I think I would.
I'm not going to fight you on it because 18 is a great number to rest at.
Yeah, it just seems like I don't have to worry about playing 13s, 14s, 15s.
You just get an 18. You get 2 9s.
Yeah, I would.
King and an 8.
I bet out of 15 hands, that might not be enough. I could win 8 with 18.
You would probably win more than you would lose.
You just wouldn't win big.
Huh. I kind of like that reasoning.
I'm sure.
I may actually change now because if I had 10 hands and I could win 6 of them with an 18.
I should ask. I wonder if Stumanji can do stuff like that, probability. Because he's got a graph and a chart for everything else.
Yeah, I don't need to gamble if I'm just
playing
up.
18.
Yeah, you're right.
I think
I'll
would
change.
I think I would probably take 18.
I will change and say 18. Not bad. Good walkthrough.
It doesn't mean I'm right.
It seemed right. More right than me trying to gamble my life savings away.
Yeah, so because how often are you going to get 19, 20, 21 versus all the other potential combos?
Depends on what heater you're on that night.
Yeah, give me the steady Eddie.
All right, speaking of probability.
Take another drink, Shane.
I'm going to give you some announceability on this one.
Question number 4.
How many words did you look up with ability in it?
Which movie best represents the state of Big Ten football right now?
I don't get any choices.
Movie.
Which movie?
Ooh, that would have been good, though, having a few choices to go off of. You know what movie I saw when I was scrolling through Hulu yesterday? Hulu. The Internship.
Never seen it.
Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson at Google. Older guys at the like an internship stage. But I'm going to go based off of just the premise of the movie and say The Internship, because you have a bunch of new faces in the Big Ten leading the charge. You have a lot of new quarterbacks. You have a lot of new faces as a part of each team. If you looked up and down the Big Ten, you're thinking, what, there's 25% returners, it seems. Everybody else seems new. Every team seems new. Not to say that they won't still be great. Like the Michigans will still be really good and Ohio State will still be really good, but you don't have C.J. Stroud anymore in the conference. You don't have Mohamed Ibrahim. You don't have, certain coaches, certain quarterbacks. Go with the internship just because it's all about the newbies.
I think Nebraska could have some marketability with that.
You said marketability. I don't know. I think Nebraska fans are hoping it's like the Wolf of Wall Street where something eventually bad happens to Michigan and Ohio State for being corrupt or breaking the law.
It's a good one, too.
But I'll go. You know what? It would be nice. I'm going to go with 300. Why? Because I would like a small few to rise up against the tyranny Give me some hope.
All right.
Give me some hope.
Okay.
And take it to battle.
I can handle that.
Right? And figure out at the very end that a god can bleed.
This is Sparta.
Yeah, give me I kind of like 300. Now,
is that Leonidas, right?
Yes.
I thought it was Terry Crews.
Even a god king can bleed. You hear that, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan?
You want question 5?
Yeah, give me question 5.
Would you ever purposely leave food out on your back patio to feed wildlife?
No.
And if you do, that is the stupidest thing ever.
No, I saw somebody do that on TikTok, and they did it so that they could be TikTok famous with raccoons coming up to their window, and they had food options for the raccoons. No. Wildlife, get off my porch.
Not even. That one's an easy one. No. I'd feed some sharks, though.
Number 6.
I'd feed some sharks, though. Just can't get them on my back porch.
That's good. That's probably a good thing.
What athlete in sports history doesn't get talked about enough?
Relative to his or her greatness?
I'd say yes to that question. Gosh, there's a lot.
I'll give you 2 because one is talked about, but I think he's one of the greatest of all time.
Okay.
Of all time, and he does not get in the GOAT category. Charles Woodson.
Yeah,
Charles
It's a
Woodson
great one.
was an unbelievable player. He was so good, it makes no sense. He should be in that greatest of all time debate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'll give you a female. You ready? Mia Hamm.
That's another good one. Gosh, I don't know. I'm running out of time here.
Pressure's on.
I know it is. It really is. All I can think about is baseball right now. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Stan Musial. Like, is that bad?
Oh, fudge.
Predictability.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Late.